Hello, everyone, and welcome down to episode 127 of the Down South Photo Show, Australia's #1 ranked photography podcast, with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia. And the guy on your other screen, or in your other ear if you're listening to the channel, it is Cam Blake in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia. Hello, Cameron.
I am absolutely shocked. Did you just change the intro up?
On the fly.
Jesus, how good was that? That was unreal.
Yes,
The problem is you're gonna have to go watch it again for next week, so you can't forget how to do it next week.
No. I'd rather do the ad lib. Thank you very much. How are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you? You sound a little bit nasally. You've got a bit of a cold, have you?
But my annual winter cold has hit me, which is very common for me because I work in retail, so I pick up everything.
Because of all those germy customers that come in.
I do get a few germies.
Yeah.
School holidays normally means my son gets crook too, but he's avoided it this year, so good on him.
Right.
But he's doing better than his old man. So I'll be fine though. It's just the nasally, throaty thing, and
thank you for coming to work today. That's much appreciated.
I'm not here for you. I'm here for the viewers and the listeners.
How many viewers and listeners do we have, Brendan?
840 subscribers on the YouTubes. Thank you very much.
That's almost 1,000.
And millions more that listen to the show. So on their pods when they're out jogging.
Goddamn lazy to press the subscribe button.
Do you listen to podcasts, Cam?
Yes, I do.
Right.
Do I subscribe to them? Yes, I do.
Good. When do you listen to podcasts?
I tell you what, I've gone through a bit of a change in my life, and I think it's got to do with the numbers that come after my age. Is that I used to listen to music nonstop when I used to go driving. So if I was driving somewhere, I'd always have my music going, sing along, carrying on. Now I like to listen to a podcast as I drive along.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I'm a big true crime detective kind of person.
Yeah, nice.
I love listening to all the the latest crimes, like the Mushroom Lady from Gippsland. There's a podcast on her.
Yep.
There's all these different Australian true crime podcasts. So yeah, if I had my time again, I'd try and be a detective, I reckon.
Didn't you? Wasn't part of your photography forensic photography?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was mainly.
There you go. So there's something there. You've got an itch there that needs scratching.
Yeah, I think so. I'm always that guy on the couch. Lisa's always like, "You should have been a detective." Like, the new show comes on, and some random guy walks in the back of the cinema like it was him. He's like, "It hasn't even started yet." Like, yeah, it was him. You can just tell.
Yeah, that's going to be him.
Because that's how they pick detectives, isn't it? Just off Law and Order. Like if you watch and you can pick the.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
What about, are you a sports podcaster or are you
I do listen to a couple of sports podcasts. I have because most of the podcasts I listen to come out every week like ours does. I generally have my days when my podcasts drop, the ones that I like to listen to.
Yes.
The Monday morning podcast by Bill Burr is hands down my most listened to podcast. The guy is a comedic genius.
Yes. That's
Bill Burr for those of you who are listening along at home.
He's on the show next week, isn't he?
If he was, I would be the biggest fanboy of all time. So I listen to his podcast. He does the Monday morning podcast and he does the Thursday afternoon just before Friday, Monday morning podcast.
Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called.
That's pretty funny.
And the Monday one goes for an hour and the Thursday one goes for about half an hour. And it's great. It's just comic relief for me. I enjoy that. Sports, I listen to a couple of the Melbourne Footy Club ones. I listen to the Cricket Australia one in summer. That's quite good as well.
Hang on a sec. Melbourne Footy Club have more than one podcast?
They have several. And the Debrief is the one I listen to, which is quite good. Their official title is the official unofficial podcast of the Melbourne Football Club. But they have all the players on it and all that sort of stuff. It's good. I like
maybe we should have called this like the Not So Down South show about stuff that's not photography.
And for those of you who have requested more guests, stay tuned. We have a couple of guests in the pipeline.
Why am I not hearing about these things?
Mr. Blake is heading off to the Flinders Rangers next week. So not to put the end of the show first, but I've done that. And
so sounds like I'm getting moved out slowly.
No, not at all.
No.
We listen to our audience and we give them what they want. So
I'll come here one night and you'll say, I'll see you at 8:00. I'll be waiting at my computer for you to ring.
Right, yeah.
Nothing happens.
And that's how I'm going to do it too.
You prick.
That would work really well.
I know where you live.
You do. You know exactly where I live. You'll be here Wednesday morning. So
that's right.
In my neck of the woods, at least.
Screaming at you, yes.
Speaking of great segue.
Oh, great segue.
My background.
Background there.
So see this here. This body of water is where the Spirit of Tasmania goes right through.
All right.
Geelong is that how can I get my finger pointing that way? It's that way.
Yeah,
Geelong's
right.
down that way. So
Okay.
this was taken last night. So avid listeners to the show will know that I recently acquired a Nikon D750 full frame mirrored camera. I was going to say mirrorless then, but they're mirrored. So I thought I'd take it for its first run, and I went over to this place. This is Clifton Springs, which is just on it's 10K from my house, and it's an old jetty there that it's photographed to death, but it's great. It's a good spot. It's a good spot to give this camera a run because there was no one else there because it was pouring rain. So I was able to. I think I sent you a few shots today, Cam, of the efforts for that little unit.
Yeah,
so it was good. It was good to have a different camera in my hands. After we talk about your background, we might talk about that camera a little bit more. But
I was just about to ask, did you AI those birds in, or are they there?
No, that is all straight out of camera right there. Because when I put it up on Facebook, it didn't say made with AI.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Or did it? I don't know. I don't see my own posts.
It did, but then AI took it down because it realized
that's right.
AI.
And then AI put it back up again, and then it had a fight with itself.
Yeah,
and then it was Judgment Day.
And then we had a presidential debate between two old people that made no sense.
That's right. Exactly.
So that's what AI does. Hey,
your background, I reckon I know where that is, but you tell us.
Where is it, you reckon?
Well, it's in the run sheet, so I know exactly where it is. But I think I know anyway.
Smart ass. So this is the Flinders Ranges. I am heading off there this time next week. I'll be well and truly into that workshop. We have 6 wonderful guests, plus myself and 5-star Dan. 5-star Dan comes off the bench again for first time since Bright, I think. So this is just one of the little foothills and areas around the bottom of the range. Again, just get that beautiful color and all those little layers and lines and stuff like that. It's a pretty unique landscape, one that I really love getting into. And we'll be there next week. We'll probably hopefully get very similar conditions to that. It'd be nice if we could.
Yeah, I was just about to say, isn't it amazing? And what a coincidence that you just happened to be there when the light's good.
I know.
Do you know what you're doing?
No, I actually took a wrong turn, and
yeah, that's right.
Lo and behold, here we are. Actually, no, this shot was it wasn't super duper late afternoon. It was just one of those sort of days that had that nice light for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice spot. If you haven't been,
I love this time of year. I love it. It's brilliant for light.
It's going to be a bit chilly though in the mornings.
Yes,
and
I'll have some minus mornings.
Yes, I think it's going to be. If we get a frost, that'd be damn cool. I think we had a very, very minor frost once when we were there last 2 years ago at the same time.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that would be cool if we got a bit of a frost or something.
Well, it mixes it up a bit, doesn't it? Something extra.
It does. Yeah, like imagine frost in an outback sort of colors. That could be pretty cool.
So. Yeah, like red earth with a frost.
Yeah.
Which you must get all the time because it's minus temperatures in the middle of Australia in summer sometimes.
But do they have enough moisture to create the frost?
This is the thing. Correct.
The dew point. That's what you need to look at.
The dew point. Bloody hell, we're getting a bit too serious here. Congratulations to our winter photo comp winner, which
is on the screen now, isn't it?
The photo's right in the middle of us, Cam. No, you're pointing that way. It's there. There it is. It's in the middle of us. Congratulations to Eric Anderson for his awesome image.
Yes.
Talk about winter. That's a winter wonderland scene right there.
That looks bitterly cold. Now, you and I were trying to figure out where this was.
And we got this wrong last time, so I don't...
You know what? He's probably put it on the actual entry where it is.
Probably.
But are we that good enough to look at that? Probably not.
As I'm looking, and both of us... Well, you said New Zealand.
Yeah, I said New Zealand.
And hard to argue.
Yeah.
But I will.
You thought it might have been...
I thought it might have been somewhere in Scandinavia, but I'm rethinking that because the fence lines do look very Kiwi. But
Scandinavia. Well, it's just titled Frosty. He hasn't told us where it is.
Oh, okay. Very good. And
so, Eric...
this is... Yep, well done. And this is where we get a little email from him saying, yeah, the whole thing's generated in AI. But anyway.
So who wins? Whose prize did he win? Is it you or me this time?
I think it's me.
That's you? Okay.
I think it's me. Eric wins himself a $100 gift voucher to Ocean Grove Camera and Photo. So get in touch with us, Eric, and we'll make sure you get that. And of course, given that we've just done our winter photo comp, it's now over to you, folks. We will put up our top 5 and you can vote for your People's Choice winner. If you think Eric's is the best, then vote for that. If you think someone else's is that we choose to put up, then vote for that as well. Yeah. And that person will win a little prize from Cameron.
That's right. They certainly will.
So how about that?
I like it though. That shot is cool. That's what they call hoarfrost.
Yes, it is.
Now
Hoare frost.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's got to be some pretty special conditions to get hoarfrost. Hoar, no E.
Oh, just Hoar. Okay, very
Yeah,
cool.
comes from the Old English language and refers to old age appearance of the frost.
Mm.
So
It
it's pretty
looks like
cool.
something straight out of Lord of the Rings. So
Yeah,
well
yeah,
done, Eric. Good
that is cool.
stuff.
That is very cool. I wish I could get a shot like that.
Can I this podcast is going to jump around a little bit. I just want to walk
Okay.
you through my experience with the Nikon D750. Is that okay?
All right, I'll just tune out for a couple minutes.
So yeah, I acquired this camera and I've always heard good things about it, so I thought I'll take it for a run. And the first thing that struck me with it, having been using the OM system now for quite some time, it's a heavy little bugger.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind because I'm still relatively fit and healthy and still, relatively youngish. No, I'm not, but you know what I mean? I can handle it.
Yeah.
But I can understand why a lot of people who might not have the physique of me or might be a bit older than me can't handle it. And I think that's actually the very reason this gentleman sold it to me in the first place.
Right.
Because he's getting on a little bit and big and heavy and bulky. I used it with 3 lenses, actually. I gave 3 lenses because I 3 lenses a run with it last night. The art series, so Tamron, I guess. Tamron Art.
Or
yeah,
Sigma.
Tamron, Sigma. Tamron or Sigma, one of them. The 24 to 70 art series. Is that Sigma?
Yeah, I think it is,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, beg your pardon. That's a heavy lens too.
Yeah. Lots of glass in that one.
Yeah, that's f2.8. Nice lens though. Enjoyed that. And then I also used the 12 to 24, which is probably I think is the Tamron lens, the 12 to 24. And then Nikon's own 28 to 300, which is a much maligned lens. I feel a lot of people sort of think it's a bit too much range. I didn't mind it at all. Quite enjoyed using that.
It's quite compact for the size of it, isn't it?
It is. It's also a wee bit weighty, but it actually balances the D750 probably the best of all 3 of the lenses I used.
Yeah.
And while I was waiting for light, because it was a pretty crummy evening and the sunset wasn't really doing much, but a bit of light was coming and going, I was able to snap the big lens on and just have a play and get, the old landscape within landscape stuff. I really enjoyed that. One thing I did notice though is the sensor is putrid and is in desperate need of a clean. So this photo behind me had massive big spots up here all over the place. So that's okay. That's what happens when you lock off on a tripod and shoot it, f11 and above. Basically, you're going to see every spot on the sensor that's there. So, but yeah, overall, sort of initial thoughts on my first play properly. I mean, I've used full frame mirrorless. I've used full frame cameras before. This is the first one I've actually owned. And I like it. There is something a little different between shooting full frame versus micro four thirds. I think it's got a little bit to do with depth of field. And it's got a little bit to do with front to back sharpness, not edge to edge, but front to back. I think I just feel like this setup is sharper than what I'm used to shooting with.
Yes.
I mean, the jury's still out. I've only had one crack with it, but everything sort of, and I was tripod mounted, locked off, doing, some long exposure stuff. So, and at higher apertures. So generally I'm going to get more front to back sharpness, but I like it. Probably rate the Olympus or OM system color science a little higher. I think that's a little better, just for my palette, but so far so good with the Nikon D750.
So that's almost the same size body as the D800, isn't it? From memory,
I believe they're pretty much identical.
They're pretty similar, aren't they? Yeah, maybe identical apart from the size of the sensor. So
but
they are big.
Same sensor size.
I mean, megapixels.
Oh, megapixels. Beg your pardon.
Yeah. So I've had a few customers that had those and handled them, and they are chunky, but I think what you're saying resonates with a few people is that sometimes having that big chunky camera, if you've got big hands and you can carry the weight, so to speak, then they do feel a bit more confident in your hand as opposed to the smaller mirrorless cameras. I get that as well.
I would have to agree.
But then the flip side to that is just that weight. Like after you had it on a tripod, you were there for an hour or so, whatever. Yeah. Try carrying that camera around for a whole day with a lens on, doing a bit of both. Exactly. That's where I think you notice the difference. I was going to ask you about your 28 to 300 question without notice.
Yes.
if that wasn't part of the kit that you bought,
Yes.
would you go and buy a wide angle to telephoto all-in-one zoom lens for as your preference, or would you try to avoid those
Oh
all-in-one type
no,
lenses?
I'm a fan of them.
Okay.
Ever since you gave me that 12 to 200,
Yeah.
the Olympus, which is a 24 to 400, which is an
Yeah.
even greater range than the
Greater, bigger.
28 to
That's right.
300.
Yeah.
I kind of look past the imperfections. I think the advantages outweigh the negatives for those
Yeah.
cameras, just for pure versatility, mate. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, so what is it? 28 to or 24 to 400.
That's
That's
a
a
big,
pretty impressive range.
but they don't have a good name, do they? Like, a lot of people
They don't.
like,
They don't.
I
No.
think
And
it, there's,
generally that comes back to build quality, I think, of the actual lens itself.
and it seems to be there's a cutoff point with people with their photography. They buy a camera. I'm going traveling around Europe. I need that all-in-one zoom. And
Yep.
once they use it, once they start learning a bit about sharpness of lens, fastness of lens, I think everyone gets to that little cliff where they go, okay, I can't have that lens anymore because it's not fixed aperture or it's not this or it's
Yeah.
not that.
Yeah,
But
maybe that's the case. But I think there's probably a
yeah,
combination of things. One is bad reviews,
mm,
and unfortunately, reviewers. Okay, let's pick a reviewer. Gerald Undone. You familiar with his work?
no,
Right. Gerald Undone is actually a fantastic reviewer.
right,
The downside, I think, is he plays to the professional end rather
right,
than
yeah,
to
yeah,
the prosumer or the amateur end, who really probably shouldn't be that concerned about absolute pin sharpness or
yeah.
zero barrel distortion, all that sort of stuff. For pros, I get it totally. It's the tools of the trade. I understand that. But again, being able to put a lens with so much reach and so much versatility in someone's hands,
Mm.
I think can sometimes have greater benefit than downside. So, in
Because I
my
thought,
humble opinion,
yeah, because I've had the 12 to 100 Olympus lens, which is an what's that, 24 to 200 f4,
yeah,
and that's a great lens.
yeah,
But every time you see people come into a group or you teach people whatever, and it's like, what lenses do you have? And it's almost the last one they pull out every time. It's like,
yeah.
oh, I've got this and I've got that. I've got a wide angle. I've got tele. Oh, and I've got this thing 24 to 200. I never use it though.
Mm.
And a question I always say, what, why not? Oh, the person at the camera club said they're not as good as these ones, or,
Yeah.
the sharpness isn't as good. Like there's always this negative connotation to those weird longer lenses and wide angle lenses. But
Yeah.
it's weird because they are very practical, with the magic of sharpening images and what you can do these days, like that little bit of sharpness that you might lose. Is it a problem? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge problem, and I'm looking forward to. So when the weather turns, I quite often find myself on the bluff at Barwon Heads.
Hmm.
You get a few like wildflowers coming out. You get a lot more bird life. The birds are nesting around there and that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. I'm quite looking forward to that walk I do where I take one lens, and this time it'll be a D750 with a 28 to 300 lens.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, why wouldn't I? And
Because it does cover, apart from the ultra wide, it covers everything, doesn't it?
yeah, and we talked about this only last week, I believe, or maybe 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. The fact that last night I wanted to keep shooting handheld. It was about 5:15, and the sun went down at about 5:12 or whatever.
Yeah,
I couldn't see the sun go down because it was clouded out, as you can see behind me. And light was dropping dramatically, but there was compositions to be had. So you know what? I just went stuff it and put the thing at like 2,500 ISO,
yeah,
and just kept shooting handheld at over 1/100th of a second, sometimes even faster, and
yeah,
then just denoised it.
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
stoked with the results. And that's
yeah.
just giving me a much more versatile piece of kit, I
I think
think.
I think that analogy is starting to seep through
It's
to
ringing true, isn't it?
to a lot of people now. It's just like, you know what, who gives a shit about ISO? Let's just crank it up, get the shots I want, and
Yep.
denoise it later because it's the denoising is so much better.
It is. It's
Um,
gone ahead in leaps and bounds.
yeah,
And so I use two. I use Gigapixel and I use Photoshop's denoise with the
right,
raw file in their raw editor.
yeah,
And the Photoshop one, I don't know. I think it turned a corner about 6 months ago, and
yeah,
it's superb.
yeah,
Very, very good quality. So for denoising, but yeah, you're completely right. Why give up on a composition just because
yeah,
it's a bit grainy?
yeah. And I think the same with that sort of sharpness as well. Like that lens may not be the sharpest lens in the kit, but with a couple of buttons pressed, you can get it pretty close to what you want. So you can go and share it by 300 by
I
300
tell you what,
pixels.
I'll tell you what was funny was because I literally hadn't changed any of the settings on that D750. I just put on my tripod and started taking photos. Old mate had it set to bracketing. And this thing was taking 3 frames at different exposures, 2 under,
Yeah.
spot on, and 2 over.
Yeah.
And it took me, I almost had to Google how to turn it off. It had been that long since I'd have to turn, because I used to shoot, as really long time listeners of the show would know, I used to have a Nikon D5300, 5200, 5100, whatever it was. And that could bracket. And I would bracket occasionally. And so I had to sort of go, oh, how do you, and that's right, and found the bracketing button and got it all turned off. So no, it was cool. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to giving it more of a run. Doesn't mean I'm getting rid of all my other gear.
You're not getting rid of all your other gear, no?
No, because he who dies with the most cameras wins. Isn't that right?
Yeah, maybe. I know a few people well ahead of us.
Well, let's talk about your little statement there that says it on the run sheet. Can we go into that little can of worms? I think we should.
I opened that can of worms today, and there's worms everywhere.
Yeah, it's a fantastic chat. So Cam, tell the good listeners what you're possibly planning to do.
I'm thinking of maybe selling all my gear and like purely just clearing everything out, starting again and starting very minimal, and 1 body, 3 lenses, be done with it. And you can't see it behind because it's all hidden away here, but I've got too many cameras, too many lenses, too many old cameras, too many old lenses, too many bloody tripods. I got too much crap that I just don't use.
It's not helping your photography at all, is it?
It's not. It's not going into my photography at all. It's not doing anything. So, so I've been thinking maybe last week or two. I'm like, geez, I don't need all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've been trying to update my business insurance. I've got to tell them all the gear I've got and stuff like that. It'd be so much
easier. 2 days while you make the list.
That's right. It'd be so much easier if I could just say, yeah, I've got that camera and 3 lenses. That's it. So, and I'm thinking of going away completely from OM and Olympus.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of just having a complete restart from scratch. Don't know what brand, don't know what camera, don't know what lenses, but just going something completely different and seeing how I go.
It'll be interesting because then all of a sudden you'll be operating without a safety net, right? So you'll be walking the tightrope when you're out in the field, relying on a brand new system, and you might happen to you what happened to me yesterday. How do I turn bracketing off on this thing?
Yeah, that's right. I might be like, well, what the hell does this thing do? I don't think, like, I will most likely keep the big white Olympus lens. I don't think I'm going to get rid of that.
Well, you're going to need a body for that, mate.
I've got a couple of Olympus bodies that I could just recycle into that if I want to use it.
Yep.
But yeah, I was just thinking the other day, like I went and did that hike to Frenchman's Cap. I took my little film camera with me, and I took my Olympus with me. I took, a dozen shots on the film camera and then didn't do anything with it. I found as well, like on workshops these days, like I'm hardly taking any photos on workshops.
Yeah.
These days, I'm helping and sort of giving examples and using other people's cameras to show them how to do what they're doing. And the rest of mine are just sort of happy snaps. I haven't been out for a long, long time on my own just to go shooting. And a lot of that sometimes like, I got to pack up that camera and I got to put the tripod in the car and I got to go and do this and do that. I just can't be asked having so much gear.
Yeah.
And I think in a way it's all good gear. Like there's nothing wrong with it, but it's restricting me mentally from going out or doing stuff because I'm thinking, oh, what? Do I take the Olympus? Do I take the Fuji? Do I take this? Do I take that? Like, if I don't have choices apart from what I've got, then I think that's going to free my mind up a bit to say, right, well, I'm shooting.
Yeah.
I'm shooting and that's all I'm taking with me because that's all I've got.
I actually think it'll add a bit more excitement to what you do. It'll not only physically declutter your environment, it'll also mentally declutter you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Which and
I find much room in here.
I find myself in that position regularly. And I think to a certain extent, that's why for years I did stick with a very simple system of my very basic little Nikon. And geez, I had some people like, really? That's what you use? Like, yeah, damn right. And look at the photos I've got. Like, so, I was proud of that. I think lately, some of the new toys that are coming along are pretty cool. So that I always get tempted that way. But again, being in the industry, I'm lucky enough that quite often they find their way into my hands and I get to play with them anyway. And I sort of scratch that itch, if you like. But yeah, for yourself, I mean, I've been in your little basement there, and I've seen the gear.
Yeah,
There's a bit there.
there's a bit there, and that's the thing.
Maybe we give
Like
it all away on the channel.
yeah, sure. Well, look, if we get to 1,000 subs by the end of this episode, I'll
If you're
give
the
some.
1,000 subscriber, you get something for free from Cameron.
Yeah, you get a handshake. The one thing I need to be mindful of is while I'm doing this changeover, I've got some commercial shoots and stuff I got to do before the
Right.
year's out. So I've got to be a bit careful not to sell everything and then not have anything.
Yeah, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater
No,
here.
I don't want to do that yet. But in true typical camera photography form, I just emailed our mate Mark at DigiDirect today. I'm like, dude, just out of curiosity, do you have any of these sitting around? He goes, I've just traded one in this week. I'm like, shit. So
come on.
Well,
or you don't want to say. That's
I
fine.
won't say
to.
just yet. I won't say just yet.
Okay.
Because I've got to think about it, about how I go about doing it. But I think I know which way I'm going to go, and it's compact, it's simple, it's good, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like I've just started thinking about it. I thought I'll just ask him. Oh yeah, just the other day, 2 days ago, yeah, we traded one in. I'm like, of course you did, because I'm thinking of doing it. And the universe said, well, there you go, there's a camera for you. So
all right. Well, folks, thanks for joining us through Cameron's midlife crisis and therapy session. And we've got there, and I'm pretty sure the new equipment he's looking at rhymes with biker. Now we shall push on.
You're a smart ass, aren't you? I'll tell you what, you're right. It does rhyme with biker.
Yes.
And that's what I'm thinking of going back to, as you picked accurately. Yes. And the only reason being that is that in the last 10 years of me owning cameras, that's the only camera that's really challenged me.
Okay.
Where I've had to really think about every shot I do,
which is great. Which is great. Said for years is great.
Which is great. Which is why I think I want that my next stage of my camera gear to be a bit more challenging for me. That's not to say I'm amazing at everything I do. I like, you know, I still make mistakes with other cameras, but that camera certainly made me slow down and think a lot more about my shots. So
for sure.
No, we'll see how we go. May or may not happen. We'll see how we go.
That's a good thing, which sort of leads me to the next topic. Stop buying gear that you don't need or won't make you a better photographer. How's that for a segue?
That was pretty good. Yeah.
This topic's actually been sitting on our run sheet for a few weeks, and we haven't had time to get to it. But here we are in episode 127, finally getting to it. Stop buying gear that you don't need or won't make you a better photographer.
Yeah.
Care to elaborate on that, Cameron?
I feel like grabbing the screen and start saying, "Stop buying shit."
Oh, that's a good thing. You don't need. Got really angry at all.
I got angry then, because the amount of gear I see these days, is phenomenal. Like just talking about my gear, I don't need all this shit, and I work 100% full time doing this.
Yeah.
Why do people don't need all this new gear and what they think is going to make them a better photographer? And I see it frustrating people, and I see it annoying people. I see it costing people lots and lots of money and time.
Oh, and more importantly, costing people photos.
Costing people photos, that's right. And what I don't see them doing is I don't see them improving.
Yeah.
Like it's not improving their photography. It's just making them think they're going to improve their photography. So, yeah, like you said, this has been on the run sheet for a little while. And I think we need to address it. I think people need to think realistically about what their photography journey is about.
Yes.
And what gear they actually need, not what gear that I've got or Brendan's got or Bob at the camera club's got. What gear do you need for your photography? So
well, this is actually cool. Sorry, can I interrupt? Because this happened today to me. A lady came in with the most adorable little 7-month-old baby. I digress, and she said, "Look, I need a camera. I've got this baby now. I want to be able to take lovely photos of him, portraits." In natural light at home or on the beach or on holiday, but I am sick to death of using my phone. And more importantly, I do not want to keep jamming a phone in my kid's face, which I thought was really refreshing. Like, because a lot of parents don't think, you know, when they've got little kids and they've got this device that they're on all the friggin' time, and you know I'm a bandit for it, and we all get sucked into doom scrolling and sitting on the phone. Well, now we're using that as our camera.
Yeah. So the kid grows up thinking
that's what a camera is. That's
mummy, daddy, phone.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to get on the phone too. And she had a really cool point. I thought it was fascinating. Anywho, when someone comes into camera and photo, because I'm independent and I haven't got 14, Canon blah blah blahs to sell, or Sony whatevers, or Panasonic thingos to sell, I can qualify the sale and I can say, right, let's get you the camera that's going to suit you. And we ended up, we settled on 3 different models at 3 different budgets.
Hasselblad,
no, the Fuji little kick-ass thing that you had or still have, whatever it's called.
X100V.
Thank you, the X100V. A Panasonic Lumix, the TZ110, and the Canon GX7 Mark III. Right. Now, these are all compact cameras with fixed lenses, but all the lenses drop to like f2 or whatever it is. They drop like quite low aperture, so she can get a beautiful blurred background, but operate in natural light and handheld. And they look really nice too. So she's gone away to think about and go back to the husband and talk about, budgets and things like that. But it said to me that I could literally just put that in her hands, put a memory card in it, charge the battery, and she's away. And that's it. No tripod, no flash, no filter, no friggin' remote cord to trigger the thing, and all these toys and gadgets and stuff, or no strobes, nothing. Just this. And I think in its absolute simplest form, that's where photography is at its greatest.
Well, I think that's why also iPhones get such great results.
Yes.
Because it is its simplest form. It's just in your hand, one thing, there's nothing to change, nothing to do. It's all just on a screen, away you go.
Yeah. But the other thing that was refreshing was she also said, I know that a real camera is better than my phone.
Yeah.
And she actually said that, which is nice to hear. The amount of times I hear people say, oh, I've got this great camera, but the guy next to me was on his phone. He was getting better photos. No, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
You're a better photographer because you are getting more pure light to your bigger sensor, all that sort of stuff. It's not computational. Yes, the photos look nice on the screen, but are they true to life? No, they're not.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. So, and that was actually a really fascinating conversation to have, and refreshing, as I say, have a conversation with a relatively young person who's just looking to get pure photos.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where, we've all done it, and we still all do it, is that we think the more gear we buy, the better we're going to get at it. It's not the case.
No.
A little bit like, what we're talking about before with the sharpening and the noise, people are starting to get it. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to shoot everything at the lowest ISO. You can still denoise things and make it good. That goes for this as well. You don't need the top line Canon. So here we go. I'll call out a friend of mine, Jamie, friend of the show.
Hello, Jamie.
He's just got himself a new camera. So he's just got himself an R5 or an R6. I think it's an R5.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last time he picked up a camera would have been start of the year, maybe, I reckon.
Yep.
I said to him, oh, have you used your camera? I haven't even unboxed it yet. I'm like, okay. So he's very busy. He runs his own building business. He's going really well. It's great. But I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, why do you need a $4,000 camera when you're not even really using it? Yes, you'll use it down the track and you want to do some astro and you want to do landscape stuff like that. But if you're not using it at all, why not just go buy an entry-level camera and be happy when you just do some snaps when you go out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. I mean, it's that thing again where people do. We're not sorry at all. Where people do get pressured. Peer group pressure through camera clubs, as you say. Oh, I've got the Canon R5. It's the top of the line, yada yada, whatever. A lot of people get off on the fact that they can say that. But having said all that, there is nothing wrong as well with going out, if you've got the means to do it, going out and buying particularly if it, how can I put this delicately? If you're of advancing years, where it may very well be the last real camera you buy.
Yeah.
And the build quality of a Canon R5 is sensational.
Yeah. But why do we need to buy top line?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and well, I'm saying because generally speaking, you'll get longevity out of the camera.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
And also the image quality is great and all that sort of stuff. But what you're saying is exactly right as well. If your intentions are only to use it once or twice a year, then why? What a waste of money. Like,
well, that's like you look at your little Nikon D750, that's coming up on 11 years old, that camera.
Yeah, 2014 it was released.
Still working, still
the
going.
last one was manufactured in 2020.
Yeah.
And I have found out that mine was manufactured in 2018.
Right.
So
So, like, regardless of level of camera, like entry level or top line, if you look after your gear, it's going to last. Like people rock up
yeah,
to workshops with
yeah,
Canon EOS, whatever they are, and
yeah.
they've been pumping around for years. So
700D.
yeah. So, but what I find, and like I've seen a couple of examples of late, is that people have got these incredible kits of gear, thinking with the mindset that it is going to make me a better photographer. If I go and buy the top line of everything, spend tens and tens of thousands of dollars, then my photos will look just like Brendan's or look like mine or whoever's they
Mm,
are.
mm,
It's so far from the truth. It's
yeah,
scary,
yeah.
and it's really hard to talk people back from that. When people pull out $30,000 worth of camera gear and you look at the photos they're producing or the knowledge they have around their photography, and you're like, oh, right, okay, so you don't understand aperture or
Yeah.
composition and stuff like that. No, 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 I just point and shoot. Okay, it's like having a Ferrari and putting a learner driver in it. Like there's no relevance to that. There's no point doing that.
Yeah.
So I think people need to maybe if we can start a bit of a trend of not buying the best of the best of the best of the best with the thought that it's going to make you a better photographer.
Well, the thing that kills me is, people will buy fantastic cameras, get jack of it within a month, and it ends up in a drawer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then it ends up on my desk 4 years later with the
yeah.
battery jammed in it because it expanded because it was never taken out
Never
of the
take it
camera.
again. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm serious. That happens
That happens all
on
the
the
time.
regular. On
Yeah,
the regular. I'll get a camera in that's a gorgeous camera that's stuffed because the battery leaked
yeah, yeah.
because it wasn't used for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's a
showed you
shame.
that example of a lens today that
You
got
did.
dropped.
You
And
did.
then
Yeah.
that's a classic example of having too much gear that's not appropriate for the user,
Yep.
where for whether or not it's ability of shooting or ability to carry the lens or carry all the gear. And purely out of that, there's a $4,000 or $5,000 lens. Most will be, like I said, used as a paperweight.
Yeah.
And
But
that breaks my heart when I look at that. I'm like, oh, you don't need to have all this gear to
yeah,
have
but
fun with
but
photography.
Cam, humans are humans can be fantastic. They can also be worrisome things because it's a status symbol.
Yeah.
People like to have the big lens, the big white lens, the big L series, this and the body that, and it's because it's a status symbol.
How do we change that as a show?
I don't know. All we can do is put our opinion forward on it, I
Mm.
guess, and people can take it how they want. And look, like I said, if you've got the means to do it, there's nothing wrong with buying fantastic gear.
No.
Just please, for God's sake, use it.
And learn how to use it
Learn how to use it.
and use all the features of it and the ability of what it's got.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And then don't get the shits with that camera or that lens because it doesn't give you the result you think it should.
Correct.
The amount of camera abuse, verbal camera abuse I hear because people think their camera is a bucket of shit because it
It's
doesn't do what they think it should do.
yeah,
I'm sorry, sweethearts. It's not the camera. It's
no,
probably the operator that's not
yeah,
doing the right thing.
yeah.
It's the amount of people that just, oh, I hate this bloody camera. It's shit.
Oh,
It's like, oh, it's
this
not.
will send us down a rabbit hole, but that's also linked to uh, that level of frustration comes when people are constantly comparing their photography to what they're seeing around them. Now,
Yeah.
in terms of let's use Instagram as a well, when it used to actually only show photos, which it doesn't anymore, but
Tell you what,
Facebook, Instagram, anything.
I'll tell you what, my Instagram, sorry to cut you off. My
You're right.
Instagram message feed at the moment is nothing but porn.
Wow.
And I don't know why. I don't surf porn. I have a feeling someone's signed me up for a whole heap of shit because in my message box of
Ooh,
Instagram, it's just these chats of just porn stars,
maybe it was a well-known Australian wilderness
photographer,
photographer.
maybe. And that wouldn't be
We'll
like them
come back to
breaking the
that.
rules, would it?
We'll come back to that.
Radio.
The point I was trying to make
Sorry.
was so when you're scrolling through Cam Blake photography online, when you're scrolling through Peter Lick, when you're scrolling through Tom Putt, when you're scrolling through well-known Australian photographers' websites, Instagram feeds, guess what you're seeing? You are seeing their best work. You are seeing the best of the best. So, Tom Putt might go out on a shoot and take 2,500 photos and post 3 of them, which are the best photos. Now, it's not saying anyone, professional photographers use a spray and pray approach. They don't. They're very picky and very particular about what they show. Last night's shoot at Clifton Springs, I was there for an hour. I reckon I took 150 frames. Today I flicked cam, 5 photos?
Yeah.
And probably 1 or 2 of them were any good, but I was just showing cam what the D750 was capable of.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at here is people get really frustrated because you are seeing not only in some cases 50 years of experience and the absolute best of that 50 years of experience.
That's right.
They think because they went and bought the same camera that photographer uses, they're going to get the same result. And it is never the case, ever. You might jag 1 in 100,000, but...
Well, that's like that golf analogy we use. You can go buy Tiger Woods clubs. You might drive a few down the middle, but the rest of them are going to be in the woods or in the bunker or...
Yep, and I love that. There's a great saying...
comes with experience.
The great saying is that the great thing about golf is that every now and then a 30 handicapper will hit a PGA Tour shot.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about golf. And in some ways, photography is the same. But photography is all about preparation combined with opportunity. Yeah. And if you ain't prepared when the opportunity comes, you're cooked. You're not going to be able to do it. So that's why, and we bang on ad nauseum about, attending workshops or, learning more and spending money on...
Just practicing.
That's right. And spending money on travel rather than on a Canon R5.
But what I've also noticed as well, like you're saying, if people have the means, go out and buy whatever they want, that's fine.
Yeah.
But not all, but some of those people with the same means will go and do a workshop with you, with me, with Tom, with everyone else, and do the whole rounds of the workshops and still get to the end of that and still be frustrated with their photography. So at some stage, people, you've got to look at the common denominator through all those processes. And that's maybe the approach that you're putting into your photography is not maybe the best way to do it. Don't put all your eggs in that I've got better gear basket, or don't put all your eggs in that I've done one of their workshops, I know everything now. The key to it all is just practicing, getting used to your gear, getting out there. It doesn't matter what gear it is, and just getting used to it. And I think that's where people, like you said, people put their cameras away. They come and do a workshop. They get it out 6 months later for the next workshop. It's like, that's not going to improve your photography. You've got to use the gear as well. So
yeah. I was just while you were speaking there, I was just, because we do draw the analogy of photography and golf a lot because we're both golfers and we both hack golfers. What's the leveler in golf, Cameron? What's the leveler?
The course.
No. We have this wonderful system called the handicap system.
Oh, the handicap. Yeah, that's right. Well,
right. Yes. Which is a leveler because it means that I can go out and play golf off against a single finger handicapper and potentially beat them. And we don't have anything like that in photography. It'd be fascinating. Like when people put up photos, if you had a grading, like you were at this level.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could do that, but it'd be fascinating a fascinating process. Here's 14-year-old blah 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 from such and such with their iPhone. Anyway, as I say, I was just spitballing as you were talking there.
Well, that'd be the handicap. That'd be like giving Peter Eastway a box brownie.
Yes.
And giving a complete beginner a R1 Canon that's coming out with all the L series lenses.
That's right.
And go and say who's going to make the best shot.
Yeah, and I'll back Peter Eastway in every day of the week.
Yeah, because it's experience. So
yeah,
I bet you he doesn't break the rules.
Yeah. So now we don't have to name this person. Cameron did a good job of that himself over the weekend.
I didn't fully name him.
There's a major Australian photographer who was brought to Cameron's attention, has broken the rules in his neck of the woods, which is disappointing. Care to elaborate on that, Cam?
Yeah, it just popped up on my feed. It was a bit of a video promotion of photo tours and stuff that this person was doing. And I highly respect this person. They've been around a long time and have done some amazing work and still do amazing work. But what was disappointing was in part of this promo video, there they are in a spot in Tasmania's national parks that you can't get to unless you jump a fence and walk across a lovely set of mossy rocks to get right in the middle of where you want to be. And I just thought, I saw it straight away. I actually went back and went, no, I watched it 3 times. I'm like, that's definitely that place and that's definitely that person. and that's definitely the fence you've got to jump over to get there.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I went, like, really, like, if someone of that caliber, and whether or not it's ignorance or whether or not it's bad advice by people doing the promotion for him, whoever videoed it or whatever it was, but I just can't think of why they would put that in there, which is so blatantly obvious that they've done something wrong,
Yeah, no, they've
and
they've,
and
they've
just put it
definitely
out there.
pulled they've definitely pulled the wrong rein here. There was, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, and particularly a guy of this stature who is, I wouldn't call him a household name in Australia, but he's not far off it.
he's not far off it.
Yeah, and to see that being used, yeah, it was disappointing more than
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was disappointment, and then I just put out there saying, "Come on, you should know better than that."
Yep.
And then everyone came out, or there's a few people came out of the woodworks, had some people abusing me, some people commenting saying that they
Oh,
agree.
I would
The
say
whole,
95% were on your side.
I think 95% were on my side. Yeah. But it's just disappointing. And like, hand on heart, like, we all do something wrong. I've been off track to do stuff, and I've done this or done that, but I would never use that to promote a workshop. I would never say, "Hey, let's go to Cradle Mountain and let's go walk off the track somewhere
Yeah.
and do something like this." And there's places in Tasmania where you can go off track to a point and go down little wombat tracks and stuff like that and do minimal damage, which is, I still think, iffy whether or not you do or not. But just the blatancy of it, just to put it out there and say, "Hey, this is me. I'm so famous. This is where I'm coming, or this is where I'd go. Hey, look at me doing a photo right here in this beautiful landscape," which is completely incorrect where I should be standing. I just thought it was disappointing,
Yeah. And
and
the fact is, if he took clients to that very spot,
they'd
he would
expect to
be
go there.
he would be fined thousands of dollars by
Oh,
parks.
totally. Yeah, totally.
So
Absolutely.
so why do it at all?
And that's the thing. I don't know. And there wasn't the only bit of footage. There was some drone footage that was in there from certain areas that I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to fly drones without a permit. Whether or not they had a permit, I don't know. But just overall, it was disappointing. And what's starting to annoy me a bit is, like, today, in the last 2 weeks, I've spent hours, and I mean hours, updating my business insurance for liabilities and stuff like that, public liability and all that kind of stuff. I've had to update my first aid training to do things. I've had to do so many things for my business licenses to keep operating as a photographer. And then someone like that with that caliber just comes through and just stands over the fence and takes a photo and off they go and nothing happens. Well, I'm sorry. Like,
No, that's
Parks
right.
and Wildlife, they should be contacting this person. They should be saying, "You know what? If you did have a permit to be down here to run your workshops, we're revoking it because you've just blatantly broken the rules."
Hmm.
And, why should the people that are doing the right thing get punished for the people doing the wrong thing? And by punishment, I mean, my punishment is I've got to go through a whole heap of bloody red tape to be able to run my business. And it just shits me to tears. And I think the other night I was just like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm
Oh
going to
no,
call them out.
the hypocrisy needs to be called out. There's no
Yeah.
question about that. And for those of you who may be thinking, "Oh, it's a what a nanny state it's become," for
Yeah.
to call out, we're dobbing in other people. No, I'm sorry, that crosses the line, figuratively and literally, crosses the line,
Yeah.
in terms of what's acceptable, particularly again by a photographer of that stature.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It just gets frustrating.
Yeah.
And
Oh, but the number one thing for me is the protection of the environment there. That is
yeah,
an amazing scene. Like,
yeah,
I know exactly where it is. I was there not a
yeah,
year ago. I know
yeah,
exactly where you're talking about. Did I look over the rail and go, "Oh man, I'd love to go and stand right there"? Of course I
yeah.
did. Everyone does. I didn't do it because you're
But
not supposed
the
to. You're not
stupid thing
allowed to.
is, you can get the same shot if you just walk back down the track 20 meters and use a slightly longer focal length. You get the same shot.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit of laziness and a bit of ignorance, maybe. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it's just, yeah, keeping the environment safe. Like, we don't need to, like, there was one person on there saying, "Oh, let's just lock everything up and not
Yeah.
let people in." Like, people go to the extremes either way. I think we can have the good things as well as keep them and play around with them, but we just need to be respectful. Like,
Well, we've been given them, Cam, and
yeah,
they're called tracks and paths and rails.
yeah,
for the safety of the environment, for the safety of the wildlife there, for the safety of the flora and fauna, and for God's sake, for our own safety as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You had someone comment from one of the rescue agencies in New South Wales
That's
who
right.
said
Yeah.
every other day they're rescuing some conehead who has jumped a fence or been where they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, that's right. And it's all for the sake of a photo. Yeah, I don't get it. And like I said, like I'm not saying sitting on this show and saying I've never been off track before.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've never jumped a fence before. Like, we've all done it. We've all been to places where we might go a bit further than what we had to. But over the years, I've learned to respect it more and certainly back off doing what some people do. And you just accept, okay, I can't go there. That's because there's a reason for that, because it's protected and it's dangerous or whatever. Just don't go there. It's just as simple. That no photo is worth it. And all you do is look like a dickhead when people call you out online and say, hey, guess where you're not meant to be.
Right. And that's why I loved Beauchamp Falls in the Otways.
Yeah.
Because that actually had a path that led you to the middle of the river.
That's right.
They're actually encouraging you. Well, here's a spot where you can get into a creek and take photos if you want. That's great.
But then still dangerous, but take your time.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's got the signage and says slippery rocks and all that sort of stuff. And then we go to Hopetoun Falls and it's all railed off and it's and they have built a platform in a kick-ass spot too. Like where you can get a really good clean shot of the waterfall. So
yeah. But anyway, that was my Saturday night rant. I just I don't know. I'm getting old and I don't like to rant, even though people think I do. I just get sick of it. I just get sick of just watching other people get away with it.
From your point of view, I can totally understand it because, as you say, because you play by the rules, and it's photographers like that give photographers like you a bad name, as was the case of mistaken identity in the comments that I also read about.
Yes, that guy was a dickhead.
Totally,
complete and total liar and complete dickhead, and I would not be surprised if it was a fake account. Of people trying to stir shit up. But anyway,
trying to wind you up.
But on the other hand, like I sit here and I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything. Maybe I just sit back and just let it go through to the keeper. But if we all do that, then the same things will happen and the same things will get worse and more people will do it. So I'm sorry, I'm not one of these people who can sit on my hands. I've got to say
nothing
something.
to apologize for. Keep doing you and keep fighting the good fight, my friend. Now, Gear Talk, which is fast becoming a regular segment on this channel. There's rumblings, rumors. We like a good rumor in the camera industry. It was the Northrops that brought this to my attention. That Tony and Chelsea Northrop, their channel, whatever it's called, can't remember now. There's a big company, a big fruit company, that is apparently working on a camera system. Our friends over at Apple putting the nose to the grindstone and apparently are going to come out with not just one, but up to 5 different cameras. So it's going to be very, very interesting, including a mirrorless interchangeable lens system.
Are we the first ones in the world to actually and officially break this as some sort of rumor on a show, you reckon?
No, because the Northrops did on their channel. But
it was on the channel, not like a write-up?
No, it was actually on a YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Clip. It was on their podcast.
Are we the first Australian show?
We're the first Australian channel run by 2 guys with beards to bring this out to people's attention. Yes, I think it might be.
on a Friday.
That's right. Yeah, I think so. Interesting. I mean, when you consider that, let's face facts here, Apple are the world's largest camera manufacturer already.
They're huge. Yeah.
It makes sense for them to go down this path. Do they need to? Probably not, but because how big's your yacht got to be? But it just says to me that it'll be fascinating, for not only for what they do and how they do it, and whether or not it's going to be good for the industry. It might be the straw that breaks the camel's back for a couple of manufacturers out there that have already got their backs to the wall when the big corporation out of California says, no, I think we need to play in this space now.
Should I hold off on buying any gear, maybe?
The rumor is that this could be well into 2025 before we see anything. And the main thrust behind it, the main push behind it is all linked to Apple Vision Pro, which is
$6,000. Have you seen that?
Yeah, which is their device, which, let's be honest, is tanking because it's so expensive. But when I
Yeah.
say it's tanking, it's not selling anywhere near as well as they thought it would. But this will become a thing. It'll get cheaper. It'll be new generations of it. And then the camera system that they release will be like a spatial camera system that when you put on the goggles to view the photos, you are immersed in the shot. So
Have you
it'll,
tried that before? The
I have not.
goggle?
I, I,
Okay.
I actually, to be perfectly honest, I don't think I've even tried any AR goggles of any kind.
I had the PlayStation VR goggles to
Yep.
play games and stuff like that, but you can do other stuff on them as well.
Yep.
I could not do it. It made me like vertigo. It gave me like motion
Yeah.
sickness, like
Yeah. I've heard that with a lot of
straight off
people.
the bat. And the
Yep.
same thing, like you sat in the room and you could see all the stuff around you through the goggles,
Yep.
but then there was like all overlays on it. And I was just like, oh my God, I got to hang on to my chair here because I'm going to fall over.
Yeah.
It's weird. I
Yeah.
think
It
if the
is
future
weird.
goes that way, I'm in trouble.
It is weird, but it'll be fascinating to see whether Apple go it alone or whether they hitch their wagon to a Hasselblad or to a Leica or to a, as other electronics
Yeah,
companies have
maybe.
done to get street cred. Do
Yeah.
Apple need to? Probably not. It'll be fascinating to see though if they, come out what kind of glass they come out with, or literally whether it's going to be interchangeable lens or whether it's just going to be a
Hmm.
single lens. A cool hipster device like the Fuji. It'll be fascinating
I
times.
wonder what brand they would go with. They won't go with Canon. It won't be a Canon or Nikon or Sony.
It could be. It could
Oh,
be Canon or Nikon.
Sony make phones, so it's not going to be them.
Yeah, well, but Canon and Nikon are still two standalone photographics companies
Yeah,
that haven't hitched their wagon to an electronics manufacturer, a la Panasonic did with Leica.
yeah,
Could it be
yeah.
OM system, Cameron?
If they're around in 5 years, yeah.
Imagine that. Wouldn't that throw the cat amongst the pigeons if they put out a micro four thirds mount on that thing?
Well, that'd be interesting.
That'd be very interesting. But anyway,
Yeah, I don't know.
watch this space, people.
That's interesting, isn't it? It's photography never dies, does it?
I'll
It's
tell you
always
what it won't
evolving.
have. I'll tell you what it won't have.
Won't have an SD card.
Definitely won't have a memory card slot of any
No.
kind.
And it'll have
It,
it won't it'll have they'll find some other stupid USB connection to make
well,
that's
because
exclusive only to them.
Apple are famous for their options 128 gig, 256
Yes.
gig, one
Yeah.
terabyte, all this sort of stuff. Can I throw in
Mm.
a really quick little gear talk thing? Cameron, did you know that the compact disc is back?
As in the CD.
Yes.
Did it ever go away?
So scientists in China have actually developed a compact disc. So it looks exactly the same as a compact disc that can hold, I'm going to get this wrong, but I think it's 1.6 petabytes of data.
I think you got it wrong. I think it's 1.21 gigawatts.
No, that's right. Yes. And 88 miles an hour. No, it's 1.6 petabytes on a CD effectively. Now, this
Why?
technology, yeah, exactly.
Why?
Well, I think it's more for use as like a solid state drive.
Right.
So right now, the biggest external hard drive you can buy, or SSD solid state
Yeah.
drive you can buy, is 100 terabytes.
Right.
It's $40,000. This
Wow.
thing will hold 1.6
Petabyte.
petabytes,
Yep.
which is 1,600 terabytes.
Or 125 gigabytes of data.
So, 125,000 gigabytes of data.
125,000 yeah. The same.
Crazy, right? So I was just
Yeah.
looking at this on YouTube before we come on air, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is interesting. This is another piece of technology I didn't know we needed, but it's
Well,
on its way.
it's big when the magazine or the article by Popular Science writes, this is bonkers.
Yeah.
The amount of data compared to what currently resides in even the most high-end flash or hard drives.
It is
It's
damn
bonkers. It's bonkers. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Another watch this
The
space.
problem is that 1.6 petabytes will be
Yes.
encrypted with all this spyware that goes
That's
around
right.
the world
And DJI will use it.
Yeah, it starts launching nukes from somewhere. And
Well, maybe. I don't know where we're going. Cam, we better run this episode right into the ground. Beer donations, please.
well, I can't tell. Oh yeah, I'll put Mel first. Mel H.
Hello,
Is
Mel.
back on the board. Thanks, Mel. And Jenny C is also donating again this week.
Jenny from the block.
Jenny from
If
the block.
you
And
We haven't even plugged the website. What are we doing? dsps.com.au is where you go. If you would like to buy us a beer and support the channel, knock your socks off. If you'd like to support the channel even more and come on a workshop with us, go to dsps.com.au, hit the workshops page. We've got 4 workshops for 2025 that are in the works and already selling places for. We have the Murray Mallee workshop in February. We have the Freycinet and
Bay of
Fires workshop.
This is going well. Would you like me to take over?
No, we have the Great Ocean Road workshop in late February as well. And we also have the Tarkine to Cradle Mountain workshop in August 2025. I got there in the end.
They've all got places. And we also have 2 single-day workshops, which are mighty popular in selling. January 17th and January 18th next year. So jump on dsps.com.au.
dsps.com.au.
Go under the little workshop tab, and there's all the workshops are there. Come
Check
along.
them out.
We'll buy you a beer.
And if you've got any questions about the workshops, hit us up. Please ask away. We'll happily answer your questions about any of our workshops that we do. If you want to buy us a beer, it's very generic. You don't have to choose which beer. You can just click buy us a beer.
Because sometimes it turns into Jack Daniels.
That's right.
Hey, do you know we also have merchandise?
We have merch.
We never plug that. So
we haven't been plugging the merch.
We don't plug anything. We got Down South Photo Show merchandise, coffee cups, hoodies. We got it all. I forgot all about them.
We got a hat.
We don't have hats. We do have a t-shirt that says something about back button focusing.
I want a hat and I want a beanie. Can we organise that, please?
The hat and the beanies aren't on there. I should probably update that.
The avid listeners of the show will know that I've been wearing a beanie for the last 4 episodes of the Down South Photo Show because it's.
Is that because you're looking a bit scruffy and a bit?
I know. Look at this. I still haven't had a haircut.
Jesus, mate. You don't go to work looking like that, do you?
Yeah, I know, and get told. Cameron, you're off to the Flinders Ranges, I hear.
I am off. Yes, I leave on the boat. What are we? Not tomorrow. The day after tomorrow.
Which is 2 days ago when this comes out.
Yeah, I'm already in the Flinders Ranges when we have this.
By the wonders of modern technology, Cameron is already in the Flinders Ranges, not just his backdrop.
No, so we'll be up there. We start on Friday, I think it is. Friday through to Wednesday or Tuesday. I can't remember. I know where I've got to be. It's all written down somewhere. So, yeah, we'll be up there having a great time. 5-star Dano, like I said, last episode, got my dad and my brother tagging along for some of this, so that could be interesting. Dad rang me again today asking when leaving, and
yep. You told him for the 18th time.
Yeah, apparently pens and papers don't work in Greensboro, but so be it.
This has been a great episode to vent your midlife crisis. That's
what did you say? What did you say the other day? Oh, let's keep it a bit more positive on the show. Bang, we're straight back into losing our shit over stuff. Anyway,
yes.
What about you? You're working.
Well, we have entered the wonderful time of the year called school holidays here in Victoria. We've got a couple of weeks of school holidays, so the kids are home. So we're putting together an impromptu trip away next weekend. Nice. So this comes out on Friday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday. There's a very, very good chance we might head Port Campbell way. But
Peterborough.
Peterborough is still on the list. So that's
okay.
got to happen as well. There's a few other bits and pieces that I've got to take care of being school holidays, but that's all good. Not to mention getting prepared for the lovely daughter's 18th.
Oh, which I still don't know. I'm not invited.
It's clearly at the other end of July.
I'll be somewhere else then.
Why would you want to come to an 18th?
Who would? Is it alcohol?
No.
And you're shouting, or is the show shouting?
Well, it could.
At the end of this month, I can't make anyway. I'll be overseas at the end of this month.
You will be in Bonnie, Scotland, will you not?
No, I will not. I'll be somewhere else.
Oh, okay. This sounds very secretive.
Maybe. It's a little island somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tasmania.
Yes. No.
Yep.
I think it's a bit smaller than Tasmania, but
has it got 4 letters?
It does.
Yes, I think I know where that is. Very good. But we won't let on. Okay. All right. Is that now? Enjoy your trip in the Flinders, mate. Looking forward to seeing some photos out of there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think that's pretty much it for this.
I think this is well and truly dead, this episode. Yep.
That is it. That's the podcast. This has been episode 127 of the Down South Photo Show. We will look forward to chatting to you with a special guest possibly next week on episode 128.
You should try and get Ken Duncan on.
Ken who?
Ken Duncan, that landscape guy.
Never heard of him. We will see you next week. Bye.
Ciao.